Rav Ami ben Zion, who's the grandson of the late Harav ben Zion Abba Shaul Zecher Tzadik V'Kadosh Livracha, one of the great halachic authorities of our times, told over a story to me personally, and I wanted to share it with everyone. It's incredible. Just listen to the miracles that have happened in the past 7 months for Am Yisrael. Rav Ami ben Zion says as follows. He has a sister that lives in Bnei Brak. Bnei Brak, for those who do not know, is a more of an observant kind of a community. This sister has several children. She tells a story about one of the daughters that once this girl became a teenager, all of a sudden, whatever you want to call it, she revolted against the family, or she decided to be more open-minded according to herself, and little by little, slowly but surely, left the fold of religious life, more observant life. First came Shabbat, then came Kashrut, and little by little, she just left everything. Everything but her clothing. I gotta tell you, it's usually very surprising to hear something like this. For a girl to not keep Shabbat whatsoever, not keep any of the Yamim Tovim, but not keeping, going to parties during those times, not keeping Shabbat whatsoever, not keeping kosher, eating whatever, whenever, deciding that her uniform, her way of clothing does not change. The whole 9 yards. Long skirt, socks, long shirts, long sleeve shirts, all of it. And she kind of was going out with the wrong crowd, doing the wrong things, but still she kept her modest attire, so to speak, altogether. Comes about a week before the Nova Festival. She gets a call from a bunch of her friends and they tell her, listen, we got tickets to this festival, we want you to come. And she's so excited, she's like, oh, party, let's do it. I'm gonna go home, pick up some of my stuff, pack up, and I'll meet you guys so-and-so place, we'll go together. She goes home, tells her mother that she's going to this party. Her mother is distraught. She tells, listen, it's Shabbat and it's Simchat Torah. I understand you don't want to be in the full, but now you're here with your family. It's going to be Shabbat, Simchat Torah. Who leaves for Simchat Torah and goes to some party in the middle of the field? She says, Ima, don't bother me about it. I'm going. All my friends are going. I want to go. So they couldn't change her mind. She's packing up to go. She sleeps at home that night and she has a dream. Believe it or not, in that dream, she sees everything that unfolds in the Nova Festival the next day. She wakes up in cold sweat, terrified of the nightmare she just had, people getting killed all around her. She can't understand it. And she feels like maybe this is a message from God. And she decides she's not going to go to the party. The next day, her friends call her, Nu, what's going on? Let's go. We're ready. She says, I'm not going. You guys go without me. What are you talking about? We all had this plan. We're going together. You got to come. No, I can't come. Don't ask. Just leave me alone. Tell us what happened. She says, well, last night I had this dream. It was terrifying. Things were happening. I'd rather not go. Maybe you should not go. They go, what are you talking about? Dreams. It's in your subconscious. You knew you're going to go. Dreams don't mean anything. What are you how old are you? So they convince her to finally say, okay, let's do it. Let's go. And she decides to go. When everything starts to unfold in a Nova Festival, bombs are flying, terrorists are shooting everywhere. She finds herself with her face down in the ground, crying to Hashem and praying. And she says, Hashem, please, I'm sorry. You're right. I knew I shouldn't be here. I knew I shouldn't be doing this. I should have listened, but I didn't. Please, Hashem, forgive me. Do a miracle for me this once, and I will just come back to you and you only. As she's thinking these and crying to Hashem, she gets a tap on her shoulder. She picks her head up, and lo and behold, it's a terrorist. Picks her up, looks her up and down and says, you don't belong here. What are you doing here? Looking at her clothes, he was saying, you don't belong here. She says, what do you mean? He says, get out of here now. This is not a place for you. Leave. And she goes, I can't run. If I run, they're shooting everyone. He says, don't worry about it. Just come with me. Act as if I've captured you. And she even says he didn't actually touch her. He took her by her sweater and started running with her. And the others that saw him running with her thought, he's captured one for himself, and didn't bother him at all. They go way far into the forest until they were completely clear, and he lets her go. And she goes straight home. And her life was saved. Obviously, she's turned her life completely around. At home, Rav Ami says that her grandmother, who's a tzaddik and in Bnei Brak, told her, you think it was some random person that saved your life? I promise you it was Elijah the prophet, Eliyahu Hanavi himself, who had come down to save you. Why? So we have to think, why? I'll tell you. See, in life, we have anchors. Imagine yourself being an astronaut. in outer space, doing some repairs in the station. When you want to go out of your ship and do some repairs outside, what's the first thing you have to do? You got to lock yourself in with a strong rope, because once you go out, there is no coming back on your own. You're going to get lost in that outer space. So you have to lock yourself in, anchor yourself in, so you can always pull back. All the traditions that we have are our anchors. No matter how many we have, whether it be 1 or 613 or 1013, it doesn't matter. The moment we have that one thing that we say, this I cannot go without. She decided her clothing, her dress code, she couldn't go without. She left kashrut, she left Shabbat, she left the holidays, but she said there's one thing I cannot go without. And that was her dress code. That became her anchor that pulled her back in and ultimately saved her life. We all have anchors. We might not keep everything, but there has to always be those things that identify us and become our identity, our Jewish identity. And that is something that will ultimately always not only physically save us, but ultimately will save us spiritually. Baruch Adonai le'olam. Amen ve'amen.